Art of Adventure. This is episode 213 with John Logar. The Art of Adventure is the podcast that helps you travel the world, run your business, and embark on an epic quest. I'm your host, lead explorer and guide, Derek Loudermilk. You can check out the show notes for this episode at derekloudermilk.com. And while you're over there, you may notice that Superconductors, the book that I've written partly based on interviews from this podcast, is coming out in July. It's actually coming out in the UK on July 3rd and in the US July 28th. So the smart ones amongst you will fly over to the UK, buy several cases of books, then fly back to the US, or if you're based in the UK, fly to the US and get yourself a handsome little profit selling books before they're available in the US. I don't know if that's legal or if I should even be telling you this secret insider trading tip. Okay, let's get to today's episode. John Logar is a guest on this show today, the only guest today, in fact. And I met him in December. He was a speaker at the Mastermind conference that I was attending. And he is also a digital nomad, but he travels in style. He travels in luxury, only first class flights, only luxury accommodations. And why is he even a digital nomad? He's going where his market is. And so John is a consultant for consultants and coaches. He helps people grow their coaching and consulting businesses, of which I have one. And so I'm very interested in what he had to say. It's some really amazing stuff that let's call it stuff, but the way that he thinks about helping people, helping them see a bigger vision for themselves and how to do that by example. We'll learn why most entrepreneurs are not making enough offers to their customers, that you could be making way more money if you were simply giving people the opportunity to buy from you more often, making an offer every day. We'll learn what are the three most important things for making money in the marketplace. And John should know, last year alone, he did $32 million in sales, just him. So very impressive what he's able to create for himself. And he'll also talk about the really understanding the desires of the people you're talking to, of your customers, and then framing your products, your conversation, your headlines, everything in terms of what they want, because it's our job as coaches and consultants and friends and good people of all types, if you're not a coach and consultant, to see something bigger for people and to inspire them and to be influential and help them get to a bigger life that you can help. This is a great friend or a parent or a teacher. People do this all the time. So if you can do that for someone else, it's huge. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this interview with John Logar. Here we go. Welcome back to the Art of Adventure, and today joining me is John Logar. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, thanks for having me, Derek. Great to be here.
Yeah, and we met at Emily Utter's event in San Diego, and she mentioned that you spend a lot of your time, something like live in the first 8 rows of the airplane. And so I know we've been nomadic for about 4 years each, about the same length of time. And I'm wondering just sort of how you make that work, since you're a little bit different in compared to a normal digital nomad, and the fact that your business is much larger and that you're flying first class. So could you just tell me a little bit about how you live as a nomad?
Okay. I actually don't have a home at the moment. I did have homes, and I don't actually own a car. I did have many motor vehicles along the way. So I've been traveling for 4 years. For me, I guess I sat down and I wanted to think about the way I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to make an impact on the things that I believed that were important to me, and how to create those experiences. And one of the things that I love doing was traveling and meeting people and engaging and connecting and collaborating and all those sorts of things. So, and the other part of that is because I work with people, these days technology allows you to work remotely very easily. I pretty much run my multi 7-figure businesses off a MacBook Air. That's my office. My home is predominantly a seat in the first 8 rows of an aircraft. It's my lounge room, my entertainment center, my dining room, my bedroom, and but I get to share a bathroom with 180 other people. So that is a conscious choice that I made 4 years ago, and a lot of that stemmed from being where the opportunities were in markets that I want to spend time in. So I spend a lot of time in the tech world. I help a lot of people build their consulting agencies and businesses in marketing. And so I guess some of the biggest marketers and tech people and companies, they're in Europe, they're in Southeast Asia, they're in the United States. So one thing that I learned a long time ago in business is be where your market is. Be in your market. Even though the world is a lot closer than what it used to be because of technology, there's nothing like eyeballing somebody in the eye and saying, hey, I'm really interested in what you're working on. I'm interested in what you're doing. So I made a conscious decision that I was going to invest significantly in doing that. And when you're traveling so much, you want to do it in comfort. I spend a lot of time in 4- and 5-star hotels. I don't do a lot of Airbnb only because of convenience. When I hire cars, I don't hire regular cars. I hire luxury cars purely because I like driving performance cars and I like driving cars that are really nice. I have a lot of travel hacks on how to travel in luxury, and I learnt my way of how to walk myself into a business class or a first class seat, and I've learnt those things along the way.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's out of choice, it's not for everyone too. By the way, it might sound glamorous and it might sound all fun, and it is. It's something that I enjoy, but at the same time, purely because of the frequency of which I travel at, it's not easy. It's the choices that I've made are at a price of other things that I also want to experience in my life. But this is what I'm doing right now. And so, yes, right now I am very nomadic and I like to travel in comfort. I don't like backpacking. I've done the one bag carry on and I've done all that sort of stuff. I've done all the travel hacking. But at the end of the day, the real reason I travel is to connect and engage and listen and learn and hear the ideas, innovations, and the creativity of people around the world.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love that. I've experienced the same thing. Sometimes you just happen, and it's sort of in retrospect, I get a lot of business, and then I look back and I say, oh, this just happened to be a city where there's a lot of people that are interested in what I'm offering. And so you're like, wow, I did a lot of business there. And then you sort of figure out why, or at least that's what happened to me. Could you perhaps talk about the difference? Because a lot of people would, even though they like traveling in comfort, they would probably also, choose to try to do it as cheaply as possible.
Yeah.
But could we maybe just look at the larger question of the difference in how successful people or high-level people make decisions versus sort of average people?
Okay, well, it's an interesting distinction because I think if I was to make the distinction in a way that I'm seeing your question, is there are people who've got experience. There are people who've got significant experiences and they've been creative and innovative in the way that they've been able to build the things that they've been part of, whether they're big or small or whatever. So their thinking is at a different level of experience. And there are those people who are experiencing life. They're on the way. They're wanting to learn and they're wanting to grow. And so they're engaging the idea of experience along the way. And a big part of travel creates huge experiences because of the incredible, the change, the languages, the people, the cultures, the different way of living. And so even from an artistic point of view, even in how different cultures do business. So the two levels of thinking is those who are aspiring to experience more in life, whether it be through travel or what they're trying to create in life. And then those who have achieved a certain level of experience in life, but are still looking and answering and asking questions at even a greater level. The majority of people I've seen in the world, Derek, aren't incredibly happy. They've still got the ladder on the wall, on the wrong wall, thinking that they've got to do all these things that they've got to do. So to answer your question is the difference of thinking of somebody who's trying to grow and experience things at the level where they're at right now, and those who have experienced life at a certain level. It's all based on what makes you happy. So the people who have a perceived bigger life have created, experiences to create that bigger life. Yeah. So the decision-making process of what drives them, is what makes them happy. It's it's where their desire, their understanding, their connection to their values, what's important to them. That's how they make the decisions. But people who are aspiring in life, they're making decisions the same way. It's what's important to you that is going to drive how you make decisions and what you actually choose to do or not do in life. So how do they think differently? I think they just ask bigger questions. Through experience, they've exposed themselves to, ideas or knowledge or understanding, or, whether they're mastering something or whether they're driving towards some form of objective that they want to create. They're asking the questions that are relevant to where they are in life. So how do we think bigger? We think beyond ourselves when we're doing that. I feel like I'm getting philosophical here, but I'm trying to answer the question in a way to say, the difference between somebody who is just starting out, or just, let's say you've decided you're doing a gap year, you're backpacking, you want to go to Southeast Asia, and you want to make some cash while you're traveling, right? So, how do you make cash while you're traveling? Well, there's 1,000 ways you can do that, right? Literally 1,000 ways you can do that, yeah? And it's getting easier to do that these days, more than ever before. And there's so many quirky things that you can do to make money while you're traveling as well. So it boils down to what you want your experience to be. Some people live at what we call affectionately, even in communities, we call it coconut cash lifestyle. Coconut cash lifestyle is you make a couple of grand a month and you can actually live in a beautiful air-conditioned apartment in Southeast Asia. You can have a maid cooking all your meals for you, and you could probably have a few dollars left over to have a drink or have some travel experiences in that country. And for all the intents and purposes, you're living a Western lifestyle at a higher level with lower resources because it allows you to experience that in that environment, and that can make people very, very comfortable. And over the years that I've been traveling, Derek, I've noticed a lot of people when they've been traveling for a long time, or they've been doing this, at some point there is this idea that I want to create the experience of sharing that with a partner, creating some roots. And I've seen a lot of people who've been traveling who've now gone back to their home countries and start to establish their businesses to be able to fulfill their lifestyle and opportunity. So it depends on where you are in life, and in terms of thinking, just depends on how big the questions are, and more importantly, how important it is for you to want those things. Yeah, that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah, I've experienced that with some of my friends that travel a lot. They tell me they're tired of traveling. They're ready to create a legacy and do all these things. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it just depends on where people are at, and I think the difference in thinking is asking different questions.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I've been thinking about recently is, say you do experience some level of success, and then you start asking bigger questions. You think, okay, I've hit this level. Now I want to move to the next level. And a lot of people hit plateaus. They have to learn new skills or new things about themselves. How do you approach moving through a plateau in terms of success or achievement?
Okay, so sometimes plateaus are really important, because what a plateau does is, you go, okay, I've got here. Let's maintain things for a little bit along the way. Let's make sure that things are working. And so sometimes you need, maybe subconsciously, you actually need that moment to take a breath, that you've reached this level, and now let's make sure that this is solid. And then from there, where we get uncomfortable, right, or frustrated, what we've got to do is go back to what's important. Why do we want to go to the next level? Why is that important? If we're not happy here, we know that there's something that we know that there's a question in our minds that we actually want more. And so we've got to give ourselves enough reasons as to have that more. So it's, you mentioned the plateau. I've gone through many plateaus in business, and what I find myself doing to move out of a plateau is I'm starting to ask more questions about, well, what do we really want this to be? And if we're going to build it to this next level, what do we, What is the reason for doing that? And if the reasons are strong enough, then it's like, what's the process for us to actually take the next step? And in most cases, it's about, there's three key factors in you growing your opportunities. One is whatever product or service you provide in the world, whatever value you bring, there is a fit. There's a product market fit to the client, to the market. The second level of importance is that your message is a match to the market that you're serving or to the customer that you're serving. And the third most important thing, where people fail abysmally in businesses, and this is where businesses fail all the time, is to actually have an optimum selling strategy to make sure that you're consistently growing and bringing clients. There are three things you need to do to bring income if you are running a business. The number one thing is you've got to have a consistent stream of customers. You can never stop acquiring new customers, right? So you've got to have a system and a strategy to acquire new customers. And most people know how to get them. If you know how to get yourself business to a certain plateaued level, well, you already know how to get customers. You just got to now double down on what you know, right? To get double the number of clients, right? Or to speed the process of getting clients. So what you focus on most becomes your reality. If you focus on a plateau, guess what? You're going to consistently have a plateau. But if you focus on, hey, this is where we want to be, and this is what we've got to do to actually get there, and here's what we're going to start implementing so that we can actually make sure that we're moving in that direction, then all of a sudden you're not plateauing anymore. You know, whenever I've wanted to create cash flow or revenue or opportunity or whatever, I've started to think about, why do I need that? Why do I want that, more importantly? What am I going to do with it? Why is this important to me? Right, and so if the why is strong enough, then I'm going to go for it. And that's no different to anybody on the planet as to how they do things, create things, and move towards what they want to generate. If it's important enough, if you think about, like, you know, a lot of people spend more time planning their travel than they do planning their lives, right? And it's really funny that I'm going to ask you this question, Derek, because I know the answer for me, right? Before you started traveling, how many months were you planning before you started traveling, before you thought, I'm going to take off, I'm going to go and experience the world, I'm going to spend some time, I'm going to put some resources together, I'm going to book my flight, I'm going to do some what areas, do a little bit of homework, a bit of research online. How much time or how many months did you spend preparing to live your life outside of the United States?
I think it was probably a good 6 months.
Isn't that interesting? So you spent 6 months leading up to the point, and you got to the day, you said that you were going to have a certain amount of spending money so that you can experience, you booked some experiences along the way. Would that be true?
Yep. Yeah, did our research.
Yep, did your homework, research. So why would business be any different? If we want to succeed or grow or bring more opportunity or increase the amount of revenue that we have in our business, it wouldn't be any different. We would sit there and work out a plan on what we're going to do, why we want to do this, where we're going to go, how we're going to make the money, where we're going to go get the money. We're going to answer all those questions, and then we're going to go, okay, great, let's put it into action. Because when you started 6 months before you started traveling, Derek, you didn't have the cash to do what you did, yes?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it's no different in business. You're going to sit there and you're going to plan it out. This is what I want to do. If I want to step up, or a lot of common phrase, if we want to level up to the next level, whatever the next level is, right? There's a gap. So we have to bridge that gap. So my question is, what is the plan? What are we going to do to bridge that gap? And those are the questions that need to be answered. How do we get customers? How do we get those customers to spend more money with us? How do we get those customers to keep spending money with us? Yeah.
When I saw you speak, one of the things I remember is making an offer every day to a potential customer, which is, I think everyone in the room was like, that's more than I'm doing currently. Mm-hmm. Do you risk burning out your existing audience, podcast listeners or email list, if you do that?
Let me ask you the question. Has Amazon burnt its list? Is Amazon dying or growing?
I know that Amazon's growing.
Yeah, because Amazon sends you an email every single day saying, hey, you're interested in this. Maybe you're interested in this. If you've downloaded a book off Amazon, hey, you like this book? Here's 4 other books that other people who bought the same book that you did like this book as well. You might like this book as well. You're getting bombarded by offers every single day. If you watch television, you're being bombarded by offers every 20 minutes. If you listen to the radio, you're being bombarded by offers every 3 to 5 minutes. If you pick up a magazine, go to a resource on the internet, you are being bombarded by an offer every second of the day. So, and there's a reason why you are, because it works. So if we talk about upsetting our people, as long as the offer we're making is relevant and of value to the people who receive the offer, then they'll stay. I have a friend of mine who, started making offers once every 3 months, and then we gradually worked him into making an offer every single day. Now, 25% of his list left, but he was left with 75% of the list who bought. And he was making, where he's making sales every 3 months, he was now making sales every single day, because he was offering things that were relevant, things that were of use and of value, and he was providing good reasoning for them to buy. So it depends on your audience. It depends on what you're selling. It depends on, if we have one product and that's it, then we're going to have a limitation. We then have to go and look at ways of acquiring new customers. But if we have several products or several services or things that can be consumed, whether that be food or whether that be items that are perishable that need to be replaced, or complementary items where we have an extension of different products within category, then to honor our business, the number one thing that most people say when they talk to businesses, and I hear this all the time, where they've had customers come and say to them, you know what, I didn't know you did that. Yet you've got this sign on the window that says you do that all day long. People walk past it every single day, and they'll sit there and go, oh, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know we could do that with you. Yeah, right. Why is that? Because you've never actually asked me the questions. You've never made an offer to me. You've never explained to me why I should be interested. So if you offer often, you're going to make more sales. And here's the thing: if you're going to offer, you get feedback. If you get sales, that's a great thing. If you don't make sales, the offer was rubbish. So what are you going to do? Change the offer. Have to make an offer for people to buy what you have to sell. If you aren't offering, nobody can buy. If you want to make a higher priced value item that you want to sell, then sell it at a higher price. I have a friend of mine, and I've done this myself, where I've had a car that I've wanted to sell, and I've gone, I just want to get rid of this car and put a low ball price on the car just to get rid of it. And nobody would buy it because they thought, oh, maybe there's something wrong with the car. That's why it's a low ball price. So then what I did was I went and spent, I think I spent about $800 on a new set of tires. I tinted some windows on the car. I got a detailer. I spent $250 getting a detailer to really make this car look schmick, like shine. Then I put it on back on the website to sell it, but I doubled the price, and it sold within half an hour, right? And I made way more money than I thought. In fact, it was overvalued for what I sold the car. So sometimes, you have to dress up your offer to move things along. So I think that making the offer consistently also teaches you, if it's a successful offer, it also teaches you how your customer behaves when they buy. And so these are things that are really powerful to know in the market. Like if I was traveling and let's say I was on Elance and I was a copywriter and my hourly fee was $50 an hour. Now that would be quite considerable for most copywriters. I know copywriters on Elance that are charging $150 an hour, right? But you can offer your services to, you can direct people to your page of where they can hire you for your projects. You don't need to wait for Elance to have the thousands or millions of people trawling for people looking for your services. You can direct people who may be interested to what you have to offer. There's a reason why you're charging $150 an hour, and there's a reason why somebody else is charging $10 an hour. Your experience, your results, your confidence in what you have to deliver, you perceive has a higher value. So when you perceive you have a higher value, guess what? The market perceives you have a higher value as well. They pay attention. You're going to attract people who are willing to invest in you at a much higher value. I had a friend of mine who built a $300,000 business off what is now known as Upwork. It used to be called Odesk, right? When he started his Odesk business, he was charging $15 an hour. That was his charge out rate at $15 an hour. Within 6 months, his own personal charge out rate was $300 an hour. This is on Odesk. $300 an hour to have a conversation. Yeah. However, $300,000 in revenue, right? Because as he was building his experience, he would raise his fees. And the people who he was attracting were major corporations around the world that looked at $300 an hour and said, "Yeah, that's cheaper than the $600 or $1,000 an hour I'm paying over here." Right? And they felt that they were getting great value for money. Yeah. And because he was working with bigger companies, working on bigger projects, then bigger companies would source him out, right? And identify him as a premium provider on Odesk, you know? So that's how he built a 300. And by the way, he didn't do any of the work. You know, the silly thing is he was outsourcing the $300 an hour work to people who were charging $20 an hour. He was arbitraging his own work. You know, he was overviewing and overseeing what he does. So, yes, when you value yourself, when you think that something I encourage everybody to do is put their prices up. You know, people hang into their prices for too long. People undervalue what they do. For every I know there is a company in Switzerland that will sell you chocolate for $1 million, and there are customers that buy the chocolate for $1 million.
Wow.
Right? Because they run full-page ads in magazines, and they've been running this full-page ad in magazines for years. So they're obviously getting customers. They wouldn't be spending the money on advertising or the hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising if they weren't selling chocolate for $1 million. Right? It just so, and I've seen these ads. I still see these ads today. $1 million worth of chocolate. Yeah. Wow. Then people are buying them. So there is a value proposition, and there is a market for everything, both at the low end, at the medium end, and at the high end.
So one thing that I'm wondering is, I'm trying to keep going higher end in my own coaching, and I have this experience of being an athlete, and I go on these adventures, and I'm still trying to figure out the best way to add that experience and expertise into my offer to help prospective clients. Do you have any thoughts on?
Okay, so what are we selling? What are we helping them with?
So I help people start nomadic businesses. Okay.
So you want to travel and you want to earn income while you're traveling, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. And so now here's the thing, Derek, there are thousands of businesses you can start, right? So the number one thing that you can start, there's two choices. You're either going to sell a product, and most likely it's a product that you don't own. It could be somebody else's product. Or if you have a personal product and you own it, or you're going to sell your experience based on time. So you're going to be, you might be an SEO guy, or you might be a copywriter, or you might be a fitness expert, or you might be a travel blogger or a videographer, or you might have a certain skill, a saleable skill that you can sell online, right, to people. And there are many channels where you can present your services online. You can start your own Amazon store. You can do drop shipping. There's so many choices that people can make. And so the first thing is what are you interested in, right? That's the first thing, right? The second thing is the idea validated? Is somebody doing what you do, and are people paying money for it? That's the second thing. You need to know it's validated, right? The third thing is how do they do what you do, or how do they do what you want to do, right? And then more importantly, who are they selling it to? Who's the customer base? So if we know those things, right, then we know that there is room for us. There's always room for a new player in the market, right? So the key here is then there are certain levels of thinking about what they believe that they need whilst they're traveling, right? So imagine you could earn $1,000 a week whilst you're traveling the world, right? That could be a milestone, right? Consistently bring $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month, USD, traveling the world, right? That could be something. Or make $10,000 a month whilst you're traveling part time, right?
Yep.
These are all interesting subject lines for people, because they need a certain amount of revenue and think, okay, if I can get $4,000 a month, I can spend $500 on rent or whatever. I can another $500 or $600 on food, and then a couple of grand I can have experiences, right? I can do stuff, because people aren't just going to hang out at the beach all the time. They're going to go and do stuff, right?
Yep.
They're going to travel while they're traveling, right? And if they can work a little bit in the afternoons, or work a little bit in the morning, or go and catch a surf in the morning, go and have breakfast, go and sit down in the afternoon on a computer for a couple hours, and know that at the end of the week they've got $500 or $1,000 coming in, happy days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So these are the desires of, we're speaking to what people are thinking while they're traveling, right? And we're not even covering the topic of products or services that can passively make you income without you inputting a lot of time, energy, and effort into generating cash flow. So there's again, because there is a minefield. There are so many different things that they can do. People sometimes don't even know what's possible. Yeah, so they're not even thinking. So there's a couple of things that you're helping people here. One, you're helping people understand that they can do it, because thousands of people traveling and making money, right? Mm-hmm. The second thing you're helping people with is you're doing the very thing that you desire to do. Travel is really important. Experience is really important. And at the same time, you're enabling yourself to support yourself while you do that. So those are big motivating factors for people, right? And then you need a process. You need a system to implement your idea or your business, right?
Yep.
You need to follow a process. So, great, I've got a process, right, to do that. So the more you demonstrate how people have been helped with what you do, the more and more people will gravitate towards you. You can, sell courses. You can sell, one-on-one coaching. You can start. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. You can start collaborations as a community. You can start a cause, with what you do. But the number one thing is, what is the desire that people have, and how do you help people actually do that and get that result? And with your guidance, with your support, it helps them with belief, that they can find the belief in themselves by having the support and the encouragement of somebody who knows that they've done it themselves. Yeah. So the more clear you are about the message, the easier it is for you to sell that, and the more, depending on the value proposition, that's going to determine how much you charge for that as well, and how you're paid for that. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Brilliant. Yes, thank you.
You come from a sports background. You come, in sport, you have to be driven towards performance, and there's only two levels of the measurement of performance. You're either going to compete with yourself to improve your own capabilities, or you're going to compete against others to improve your own capabilities. Yes?
Yep.
And so in sport, if we're riding bikes, it's all about time, isn't it?
Yep.
It's all about time. At the end of the day, the measurement of success is the time. Yes?
Yes. Or the other competitors.
Or the other competitors, right? So you're beating time, and you're beating other people who you're competing on that time zone, on that time frame basis, yep. Right? So if that's the case, then we need to eat a certain way, we need to train a certain way, we need to rest our body a certain way, we need to adjust, do a little bit of cross training. There's certain things that we're going to do to enable us to improve, and we have this vision in our mind that we want to be at a certain level of fitness or a certain level of strength to be able to, if I can get that time, right, then I know I've done it, and the exhilaration of achieving that, you're going, great, well, next we're going to do the next time. It's like the marathon runner. If you've run one marathon and you hit a certain time, the next one you're going to run, you want to beat the time, right? And in most cases, the second marathon, you're going to beat that time significantly, because you've already got the experience of the first marathon that you went through, which was arduous enough. But the second time around, you know what to expect, so you're going to make your adjustments to improve dramatically. And then by the third marathon, you're probably going to sit there and go, you know what, I could probably do a little bit better. But the margin between the success is going to be shortened, because the improvements are going to be incremental. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or unless you train, again, you get coached. This is why, if you want to perform better, but then for whatever reason, I got back into running because I just felt it was one of the easiest ways to lose yourself. For me, running was like meditation.
Yes.
But at the same time, I was competitive, so I wanted to, I started running for times. So I started the 3-mile run, then a 10-mile run, then a 16-mile run, then a 23-mile run. right, up in the marathons, and I was competing against myself along the way to improve my fitness, my endurance, my muscle memory, and more importantly, the endorphin kick that I got at the end of each ridiculous running session. Yeah, and so, but that happened incrementally. Yeah. So, like, how does somebody achieve those results? You achieve those things incrementally. Sometimes you get lucky and you get a boost. Yeah. Sometimes you're in the middle of the race and all of a sudden you're feeling strong, so you start to push harder because you're feeling strong, right? And then there are moments where you're not feeling strong and you're going back and you think, hey, I've got to adjust my strategy here. So these are all metaphors in how we approach life. Yeah. And business is the same, So you can use, sport teaches us a lot about our behavior as human beings. And there are many driving and motivating factors to do well in the things that we enjoy from a physical aspect. Why do people go and climb mountains all their lives? I can't, for me personally, I can't think of anything worse, but for some people that's what they live and breathe for. The exhilaration, the ability. They've climbed a summit. They've put their bodies in contortionate, ridiculous positions and fingers, with the grip of death to try and get. But for them, there is this euphoric sense of peace and being to reach that point. It is no different to how we choose to have experiences in life. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm seeing that I can take advantage of some more metaphors and analogies from sports and from adventure that I probably haven't explored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, who do you help and how are you going to help them get there faster? We're in a world of speed right now. It's all about speed. Years ago, I grew a business to 30 million. It took me like 9 years to get there. Now I'm taking 3 years to get there. So speed becomes a very important thing. Speed of distribution, speed of being able to deliver, the responsiveness, all these sorts of things have changed the way that we think and do business today. Our behavior, our demand for things, we are very, in the Western world, we're very we're very consuming in our behavior. This is happening now to the third world as well, because of arbitrage, because of the ability to create resources due to the world getting smaller. It's enabled people to speed up the process of progress for themselves.
Yes. So let me just ask one final question that I ask all of my guests.
Yeah.
So if you could change or add anything to the world, what would you want the world to have?
I want people to be nicer to each other. I want people to be kind to each other, kinder than what the world is right now. Yeah, that's what I believe. Ideally, I'd like to see. I believe pretty much most people are nice people. Most people are nice. Most people are good. I think most people are generally good. But I think the world is at some level become a lot more judgmental, and I believe that the world would certainly be a better place if we were nicer to each other and more kind to each other. And which means we need to kind of be more kind to ourselves so that we can be that way for the people that we want to be that way too. So, yeah. So it's interesting you asked that question because I wouldn't have thought I would have come up with that response, but that was the first thing that came to mind. I think it'd be really great if the world became a much kinder place, a more loving place to each other.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that we have to include ourselves in that.
Well, it's pretty hard to be kind and nice to somebody else if you're not kind and nice to yourself. If you don't like yourself, it's going to be really hard to like anybody else, and people are going to pick up on that pretty quickly. But yeah, I think people have just got to care more. I think people, and more importantly, about themselves, because that's where it all starts. You've got to be good to you. You've got to be kind to yourself, and then with that, you can be kind to those that are around you, and encourage people, be there for people, listen to people. We're slowly losing the art of listening. Our attention spans are very short. We're stuck in mobile devices, and there's nothing wrong with these great tools and gadgets that we've got. But ultimately, it'd be really cool if we were just nice to people, and if we are that way, people are kind of nice back to you.
Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. Lots of great insight that I'm sure everyone will get a ton out of. And I really just want to acknowledge you for being an example for me and other people that want to know that you can grow a multi-7-figure business while being a nomad. It's great to see someone who's actually doing it to know that that's possible.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate the questions.
All right. Thanks, John. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Derek.
Great interview, great insights from John Logar. Thanks so much for listening. We'd love to hear from you. What were your takeaways from this episode? You can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter, although who uses Twitter anymore, really? Or feel free to email me. And if you learn something in particular that's useful for your customers, for your business, for the way you travel, would love to hear specifically what's great, because that's really good feedback for John and myself if we're creating shows and having conversations that's valuable for you. Maybe it's entertaining, maybe it's really valuable, maybe you go and make some money based on this conversation. So please feel free to get in touch with us. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast in iTunes, would love for you to do that. And also, don't forget Superconductors, the most important skills for an unknowable future. That book is coming out July 3rd. So pre-order your copy. Get it today. That's all for today's episode. Now it's your turn to go out there and be adventurous.